Reveal the miraculous, commit to God for 40 days and experience divine manifestation today. In a quaint English village surrounded by rolling hills, the air shimmered with whispers of faith. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the chapel, Sarah knelt at the altar. The stained glass flickered in the twilight, and the scent of fresh roses filled the air, creating a sacred atmosphere ripe for divine encounter. Sarah, a devoted mother and beloved leader of her church, had always believed in the power of prayer. Yet now, despair tightened its grip around her heart. Her young daughter, Lily, had been diagnosed with a rare illness, one that left even seasoned doctors shaking their heads in hopelessness. "Spirit of God, guide us," she cried out, her voice echoing against the cool stone walls. Even as doubt whispered in her ear, a fervor ignited within her, a determination that sparked the vision for a 40-day prayer challenge. Invoking St. Jude, patron of hopeless cases, she invited the entire village to join her in this sacred journey. The news spread like wildfire, hearts ignited with hope and faith. Together, they filled the chapel, their prayers rising like fragrant incense toward the heavens, yet as the days rolled on, uncertainty crept in. Skeptics emerged, their voices crackling like static in the air. "What if there's no miracle?" they said, casting shadows over Sarah's radiant hope. The village that once brimmed with confidence now trembled under the weight of doubt. Tension flickered like a candle's flame. This was not just Sarah's burden, it was a shared one. On the 15th day, Sarah found herself standing before her congregation, her spirit heavier than the pews that creaked beneath the weight of doubt. "We must hold fast to hope," she implored. Just then, a prophetic word of encouragement swept through the room, igniting her heart with the promise of miracles. But as she shared this revelation, a moment of false resolution emerged. The flicker of hope she had kindled dimmed under her own uncertainty. As whispers of division began, the faithful stood divided, battling faith and fear. Heated discussions erupted in the chapel, a place once known for unity, now reverberating with doubt. Sarah felt the chasm widen. Was God's faithfulness truly trustworthy? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Gathered under a gray sky, the village entered the chapel once more, hearts laid bare. The air thick with yearning, they poured out whispers of pleas and praises, some collapsing in tears, others shouting hallelujahs that thrilled the very air with electric faith. At that peak of fervor sudden silence fell. In that sacred stillness, an astonishing sight broke through the clouds of despair. Lily, once frail and weak, stood triumphantly in the pews, laughter bubbling out like melodious water from a spring. Sunlight poured in through the stained glass, wrapping her in a dazzling aura. It was a miracle. Joy erupted, prayers turned to jubilations, and yet, lingering questions were tattooed on the minds of the villagers. Could this miracle sustain their belief? Would they navigate the shadows that still loomed large, waiting for answers on this transformational journey of faith? As the echo of joy swirled within the chapel, a shift began, subtle yet profound. Villagers hugged one another tightly, their tears now mingling with laughter. But as the sounds of celebration danced upon the air, Sarah's heart hovered between gratitude and trepidation. Lily's radiant laughter pierced the veil of doubt, reminding everyone of God's incredible grace. Yet, in the corners of her mind, shadows lingered. Would this miracle transform the villagers' beliefs? Could they walk confidently in faith even after experiencing fear? As the congregation gathered around Lily, Sarah watched, her heart both soaring and heavy. A warmth filled her spirit as she caught a glimpse of renewed hope in the eyes of her friends and neighbors. Yet, the enemy of faith often lurked in whispers just outside their joy. How long could they hold on to this light? Days passed, the village renewed its commitment to prayer. Morning services filled the chapel with songs of praise and gratitude. The scent of fresh roses seemed ever present, a symbol of blessings emerging from the ashes of despair. But doubt knocked more insistently at the door of their hearts. The question remained, was this miracle just a fleeting moment, or could faith deliver enduring change? On the 25th day, Sarah felt compelled to address the gathering. Standing before her community, she took a deep breath, seeking the Spirit's guidance. "Remember our journey," she began, her voice heartfelt but steady. "God is not only in the miracles but also in the waiting, in the silence. Just as He brought Lily back to us, He promises to sustain us. Trust in Him." A ripple of murmurs flowed through the room. Some nodded, grounded by her words, while others exchanged skeptical glances. Faith and uncertainty wrestled in their hearts like the wind battling against a steady flame. Just then, an elderly woman named Agnes, whose wisdom was revered among the village, stood up. She raised her hands, trembling slightly. "May I share a word?" she beckoned. The congregation quieted, leaning in as she spoke, her voice rich with the weight of life. "Miracles can shake our faith awake, but our steps forward are often laden with doubts that they cannot answer. When I experienced loss, it was prayer that kept me grounded. And when those prayers felt unheard, it was community that lifted me. Let us not forget that faith is not always about answers, sometimes, it's about being present with one another in the uncertainty." Her words resonated with many, igniting flickers of understanding. Hope was not a straight line, it twisted and turned through valleys of doubt. As villagers reflected, Sarah felt a renewed fire growing in her soul. Perhaps the journey was not just for her but a collective experience drawing them closer. That very night, they convened for a candlelit prayer vigil, the glow flickering like stars in a dark sky. As prayers mingled in the soft light, Sarah sensed a shift, a movement of the Spirit among them, gathering their hearts as one. The doubts that once bit at their heels began to lose their power, and a whisper encouraged them to trust again. But just as Sarah felt the weight lift, a sudden commotion arose at the rear of the chapel. A young man burst in, his face pale with urgency. "You must see. Something remarkable is happening outside." Curiosity swelled through the crowd. What miracle awaited them beneath the night sky? A collective breath caught in their throats, while Sarah's heart raced. The possibility of a wondrous display of God's power sent shivers of awe through her. What awaited beyond the chapel's doors? Would it be another miracle, or would it challenge their faith once more? The journey was only beginning. Sarah followed the young man to the chapel's entrance, her heart pounding with anticipation. The air felt electric, buzzing with the possibility of something extraordinary. The villagers clustered behind her, their curious faces illuminated by the flickering candles, eyes wide with hope. As they stepped outside, an enchanting sight met them. The sky was a canvas of swirling colors, vivid hues blending and glowing like the divine itself had painted a masterpiece just for them. Stars twinkled brighter than ever, and a soft wind carried the scent of blooming jasmine. It was as if creation was rejoicing in unison with their hearts. But amid the celestial glow, a figure stood at the village's edge, tall and resplendent. The young man hastened forward, his voice trembling with reverence. "Look! It's an angel!" he exclaimed, pointing towards the figure that shone brighter than the stars. Agnes, moving closer, whispered with astonishment, "Can it be true? An angel among us!" She clasped her hands, eyes sparkling with both fear and wonder. The villagers hesitated. Some stepped back, fear shading their joy. Others, emboldened by faith, took a step forward, hearts racing in anticipation. Sarah felt a surge of warmth. This was a moment to choose faith over fear. As she gathered her courage, she called out, "Do not be afraid. Look how God reveals Himself in our midst." The angel's voice rang out, gentle yet powerful, touching every heart. "Fear not, beloved. Your prayers have been heard. God sees your faith, your struggle, and your gathering. The journey you are on holds greater significance than you yet know. Miracles are not just for a moment, they are invitations to grow deeper in trust. Gasps scattered through the crowd, the weight of his words settling upon them like a heavy mist. In unison, they felt the gentle tug of divine assurance embracing their doubts, whispering truths that melted away their fear. "Prepare your hearts, dear ones," continued the angel, "for each step of faith you take draws you closer to the light. God invites you into a deeper relationship, one of hunger for Him and love for each other. In the coming days, commit yourselves in prayer and unity. You shall see the movement of His hand in ways you have only dreamed." With each word, Sarah felt her heart leap, her spirit ignited. This was more than just an invitation, it was a challenge. A challenge to dig deep into their faith, to love unconditionally, to build trust even amid uncertainty. The thought sparked a flicker of doubt: could they endure such a commitment? What if they faltered? But the angel continued, undeterred, "Your commitment to God over the next 40 days will yield profound change not just in your lives, but in your village, and beyond. Have courage, have faith." As the angel's voice faded into the night, the villagers stood mesmerized, wrapped in the ethereal glow of hope. They exchanged looks filled with determination and newfound resolve. What if we really did commit? Sarah pondered, breathless with wonder. A wave of excitement swept through her, igniting the possibility that the journey ahead could be transformative not just for them but for all. Could they take this leap together? With initial whispers turning into fervent murmurs, the crowd began discussing how best to embrace the challenge. Would they find the strength to support one another? As they stood united under the divine display above, Sarah knew this was just the beginning. What awaited them in the 40 days to come? Would their faith reshape the very fabric of their lives? As the villagers slowly made their way back to the chapel, anticipation hummed in every heart, leaving them all pondering, what miracles would unfold in the days ahead? What divine manifestations could they expect? As the villagers returned to the chapel, a sense of unity enveloped them like a warm blanket. Sarah felt it the strongest, a vibrant thread weaving her heart to theirs. They had all been touched by something greater, and as they walked, it felt as if the very ground beneath them pulsed with promise. Inside the chapel, candles flickered like stars on earth, filling the space with a soft glow. Sarah turned to the others, her voice steady yet filled with awe. "We must gather each evening for prayer, to share our experiences and encourage one another. Together, we can discover what God has in store for us." A murmur of agreement rippled through the group. Old faces broke into new smiles, joy transformed their features. Agnes clasped her hands together, her heart lit with excitement. "Yes. I can feel it already, this is going to change everything." With that, they formed a tight circle in the center of the chapel, a sacred space for their commitment. As they prayed, Sarah poured out her heart to God, expressing hopes and fears alike, her voice blending with those around her. In that moment of collective devotion, a warmth engulfed them, like a wave of peace washing over their spirits. Days passed with every sunset becoming a marker of their journey. Each evening, they gathered under the stars, sharing testimonies of small miracles, a sick child recovering, a broken relationship beginning to mend, unexpected blessings appearing in their lives. Faith sparked growth, making their bond stronger. Sarah noted how the once doubting villagers now spoke with renewed conviction, as if the angel's words had ignited a fire within them. On the 7th night, as they prayed in the chapel, a soft rustling filled the air. The candles flickered, an unseen presence seemed to sweep through the room. In that moment, time stood still. Sarah opened her eyes and saw silhouettes shifting around, light shimmering like golden dust scattering in the air. She gasped, heart pounding. Could this be another revelation? God is with us, she declared, her voice ringing clear in the trembling silence. The villagers responded with shouts of amen and murmurs of encouragement. But as the stunning sight faded, Sarah felt a weight settle in her heart. Would their newfound faith sustain them through the unknown? Doubts crept in like shadows. What would happen if they fell short? She glanced at Agnes, who smiled brightly, her eyes sparkling. "We're not alone, we're in this together," she whispered. Indeed, their collective spirit had grown, yet the challenges still lay ahead. What trials would test their commitment? Their 40-day journey was only just beginning. Sarah knew in her heart that their unity in prayer would only deepen the wisdom and guidance they sought, yet, as they concluded their evening together, a subtle question loomed, leaving an echo in Sarah's mind. What would God ask of them next? What greater miracles were waiting, hidden just beyond the horizon? The night air was crisp and filled with expectancy. With every step home, the villagers pondered the unfolding mystery. What awaited them on the horizon of their faith? Would they be ready to embrace it? The first rays of dawn filtered through the trees, bathing the village in a warm golden hue. As villagers awoke, their hearts brimmed with hope. It was the first morning of their new commitment, a 40-day journey toward deeper faith. Sarah stood by her window, gazing out at the quiet world, as if sensing the day's potential. Every leaf, every dewdrop seemed to whisper encouragement. Soon, the chapel doors creaked open, welcoming the first light. The air was thick with anticipation. Sarah and Agnes arrived early, their footsteps echoing softly on the wooden floor. Candles were already lit, flickering gently in the nascent light. The aroma of fresh bread wafted through the air, a reminder of God's provision. As villagers trickled in, Sarah saw familiar faces, some still etched with uncertainty but slowly brightening with resolve. She smiled at them, exchanging gentle nods, understanding a silent promise hung among them, a commitment to seek, to listen, and to believe. That morning, Sarah spoke freely to her newly formed family. This is our time to truly seek God's plan. Let us take our worries and lay them at His feet. In these 40 days, we'll allow Him to transform us. Her words danced on the air, and a ripple of enthusiasm washed over the group. Agnes leaned forward, her voice carrying a spark. Let us not just pray, let us serve one another, sharing our burdens. If we stand together, we will grow in faith. A chorus of affirmations rang out, a melody of hope. They decided to visit the elderly in the village, to lend a helping hand where they could. This was not just a personal journey, it was a collective mission of love and compassion. With every act of kindness, the villagers felt their faith invigorated. They were becoming the hands and feet of God, reaching out to heal each other. As days progressed, the enthusiasm poured like rain on parched earth. Each evening prayer stoked the fire within them, igniting faith that flowed through their veins. And with every testimony shared, they transformed doubt into belief. Moments of connection shone brightly, laughter shared over meals, hands clasped in prayer, and hearts opened in trust. But as darkness fell on those 40 nights, so too did shadows lurk in their hearts. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that obstacles were approaching. Would they still find strength when faced with trials? Could their faith weather the storms that life may throw at them? One evening, the challenge arrived unexpectedly. Tensions rose when a fierce wind battered the village, flinging debris like shattered dreams. Fears of damage and loss crept into the hearts of many. Sarah, seeing the worry etched on their faces, gathered everyone in the chapel. It's easy to trust when skies are clear, she reminded them, her voice steady. But we must remember that our faith shines brightest in the darkest times. This wind can't break our spirit. Let us pray, believing God for protection. With fervent prayers, the villagers held hands tighter than before. They believed. They really did, and when the storm passed, they discovered no damage to the chapel or their homes. Only the flickering candles remained, a testament to their resilience, revealing a form of strength they hadn't known before. As they rejoiced, a deeper energy surged within Sarah. What were they capable of, if they held on to faith amid storms? What other revelations awaited them, just around the corner, the next dawn? The chapel stood there, a beacon of light amidst the chaos. What would God ask of them next? Would they be brave enough to embrace even greater miracles? As the night sky unfolded above them, the stars glimmered like divine whispers, hinting at the extraordinary ahead. The sun peeked shyly above the horizon, casting ribbons of warm light across the village once more. This morning felt different, electrifying. Sarah felt it coursing through her. The anticipation clinging to the air was a promise of deeper encounters. Gathered in the chapel, the villagers were bubbling with excitement. The last night's storm had taught them much. Each face illuminated by the flickering candlelight, eyes shimmered with renewed faith and hope. Together they shared stories of feeling God's presence amid fear, of small miracles that stitched their hearts closer in the wake of the storm. Agnes broke the silence, her voice imbued with urgency. What we've learned has only begun. We've witnessed God's hand in our gathering, but I believe we're called to more. Today, let us pray for someone in need beyond our village. He will guide us to those who are waiting for a touch of His grace. A murmur of agreement echoed through the chapel. Sarah's heart raced. She felt the Spirit pushing them towards something powerful, the unfolding journey of their commitment. As they prayed, an image surfaced vividly in Sarah's mind, a small cottage on the edge of the woods, rumored to be home to a family in distress. She directed her gaze, focusing on Agnes. "Do you think we should visit the Thompsons?" Agnes nodded, eyes wide with inspiration. "Yes. They have been struggling since Mr. Thompson fell ill. Let us bake some bread and take it as a gesture of love." With that, the villagers sprang into action. Flour dust mingled with laughter in the air, as they kneaded dough and shared stories, all while praying for the Thompsons. It was a heartwarming sight, hands working together in unity, embracing their mission. The aroma of freshly baked bread filled the chapel, heavenly and inviting. After a flurry of activity, they set off down the worn path leading into the woods, hearts drumming with a mix of excitement and resolve. As they approached the Thompsons' cottage, Sarah felt a surge of nervousness. Would they see the need? Would they embrace the hope being offered? The cottage loomed ahead, nestled between the trees, a lantern swaying gently on the porch, casting shadows that danced playfully. Knocking softly, Sarah held her breath. Moments passed like an eternity, until the door creaked open, revealing Mrs. Thompson, her face pale with worry. Recognition flooded her features when she saw the villagers. "What is it, dear friends?" she asked, voice shaky yet hopeful. With open hearts, they shared their gifts, the warmth of freshly baked bread and an abundance of prayer. The room began to brighten, as if infused with divine light. As they gathered in a circle in the small living room, hands held tight, the palpable presence of God enveloped them. "Lord, let your healing flow in this home," Sarah prayed aloud, her voice a tremor of faith. "Let your love and strength build a foundation where fear once crumbled." Tears filled Mrs. Thompson's eyes, her heart swelling with the weight of gratitude. In that moment, something shifted within her, hope stirred from slumber. After they finished praying, Mr. Thompson emerged from the shadows, leaning on the doorframe, his face gaunt but eyes sharp with understanding. "You've come to remind me of the strength of community, of belief. I've been lost, but your love ignites something within me." A ripple of warmth passed through the villagers. They realized that their journey was much larger than shared meals or kind gestures. It was about embodying the love of Christ, reaching out in faith to kindle flames of hope where it was sorely needed. As they departed, crossing back into the forest, Sarah felt an unshakable certainty. Their 40 days were not merely a countdown, they were an invitation to witness miracles that would extend even beyond themselves. What awaited them in the coming days? Would their faith grow in ways they could scarcely imagine? The promise of the miraculous hung in the air, flourishing like the dawn, waiting to be discovered by those willing to believe. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, warmth flooded the village, but Sarah's heart felt even warmer. The exchanges at the Thompsons' house echoed in her mind like a sweet melody. In sharing their gifts, they had sewn a thread of connection, binding their hearts to a family in need. It wasn't just a visit, it was an awakening, a realization that they were vessels of God's love. The villagers walked back toward the chapel, rejuvenated by purpose. Each step resonated with unspoken commitment. Conversations buzzed around them, a joyful din of inspiration and ideas for their next mission. Agnes, always a spark of enthusiasm, bounced on her feet. "What if we organized a community meal? Not just for us, but to invite anyone needing fellowship." That idea blossomed in Sarah's heart. Yes. We could bring people together, share food, laughter, prayers. It could be our way of extending God's table beyond our doors. Their camaraderie surged as they brainstormed, mulling over the food they could offer, who to invite, and how to best gather the villagers. The beauty of unity displayed itself clearly, a tapestry woven from individual threads of faith and service. Days turned into moments as the villagers busied themselves with preparations. Rumors of the community meal spread, reaching those who often felt isolated. They began to look forward to an evening of connection, a testament to a love that did not discriminate and a faith that embraced all. On the day of the meal, the chapel radiated warmth and light. Lanterns flickered gently, casting a divine glow on the gathering. Tables overflowed with dishes, each representing a bit of love and a touch of prayer. Laughter and lively conversation filled the air, as those who arrived were met with smiles and open arms. As Sarah moved about, ensuring everyone felt welcomed, she caught sight of Mr. Thompson helping his wife at one of the tables. His once weary eyes sparkled now, uplifted by love and community. It was astonishing to see such transformation, not just in him, but in those around them. "Let us not forget to pray," Agnes called, getting everyone's attention. It was like a hush fell over the chapel. They gathered in a circle, hands held tightly, spilling their hopes and burdens before God. "Lord," Sarah began, her voice steady, "thank you for this meal, for this community, for the moments that bind us as your chosen people. May your love continue to pour out from this place, reaching hearts beyond our sight." As they prayed, something unexpected happened. A gentle breeze danced through the open windows, carrying with it whispers of faith and divine presence. The room filled with a palpable energy. They felt their prayers elevate like sweet incense. The night continued blissfully, with stories shared and newfound friendships blossoming. Sarah glanced around and marveled at how each pair of eyes reflected a glimmer of hope. They were different now, changed by the simple act of gathering, turning toward each other in love. But as the stars began to twinkle outside, a sense of yearning stirred within Sarah. What awaited them next? What other deeds of divine love and compassion were they meant to extend? One of the newcomers, an elderly man untouched by faith for years, approached her. "You've brought a warmth to this village I've never known. What will come of this?" His question lingered in Sarah's mind like a divine riddle, leaving her wondering what the next chapter might unfold. Would they be ready to embrace the unseen? And what remarkable things awaited them as they devoted themselves further? As dawn broke over the village, golden rays spilled across the landscape, heralding both a new day and a new purpose. The community meal had ignited something deep within each heart. Sarah rose early, eager to see how the spirit of love would shape their path moving forward. The echoes of laughter and sharing still reverberated in her mind, stirring a restlessness for more than familiarity. She gathered with Agnes and the others who had shared in the joy of the previous night. They stood in front of the chapel, the sun painting everything in a warm embrace. "What if we committed to something bigger?" Agnes suggested, her eyes bright with possibility. "A 40-day journey of service and prayer, reaching beyond our community." Sarah felt a jolt of excitement ripple through her being. Can you imagine? Every day devoted to bringing hope, love, and kindness to those around us. We could visit the sick, lend a hand to those struggling, or simply share stories of faith. The villagers nodded, inspired by the prospect of deepening their commitment. They discussed their skills and resources, each of them filled with a bubbling anticipation of all the good they could do. Sarah felt a beautiful urgency in the air, something profound was unfolding before them. In that moment, a quiet male voice broke through their chatter. It was Mr. Thompson, looking surprisingly robust, as if he had shed layers of worry. "I've been thinking my backyard garden is overflowing. We could start a community garden and share what we grow with those in need. It could be our act of love, a food source bringing life back to our neighbors." "What a marvelous idea!" Agnes exclaimed, clapping her hands together. "It fits perfectly with our 40-day mission." It speaks of nurturing not only the body but the spirit as well. The villagers sprang into action, their hearts buoyed by the prospect of this new venture. As they gathered supplies and seeds, Sarah felt an invisible thread connect them all in an unbreakable bond of purpose. Not just a garden, but a promise of growth, healing, and love began to sprout between them. Days passed like the blooming flowers in spring. With each sunrise, they delved into acts of service, weaving prayers into every task. The elderly man who had approached Sarah earlier became a regular participant, his heart opening slowly to the warmth of community. Little by little, the walls he had built began to dissolve. However, challenges emerged too, as they often do in life. Some days the rain poured too hard, dampening spirits and testing their resolve. Other days, busy schedules threatened to distract them. Yet, in these moments, Sarah saw faith blossom. They leaned on each other, lifted one another in prayer, and celebrated every little victory point. One afternoon, while planting seedlings, a sudden disturbance rustled through the crowd. A young girl, lost and frightened, stood at the edge of the garden. Her wide eyes scanned the villagers, seeking safety. Without hesitation, Sarah walked toward her, kneeling down to meet her gaze. "You're safe here, sweetheart. Would you like to join us?" As she spoke, the community gathered, hearts wrapping around the girl like a protective quilt, welcoming her into their loving embrace. But behind Sarah's serene exterior, a wave of emotion swept through her soul. What else would God reveal in those 40 days? What lessons did this moment teach about resilience, love, and belonging? Just then, Agnes leaned in closer, whispers of excitement bubbling from her lips. What if she's the beginning of something extraordinary? What if it's not just us who will witness miracles? Sarah smiled, a feeling of divine expectation rising within her. This could be the doorway to an even greater purpose. Would they dare to trust what lay ahead? With every heartbeat, they would deeply commit themselves to witness whatever God had in store. The weight of the unknown hung in the air, vibrant with hope and adventure. What awaited them as they let their hearts open further? Would they see not just transformation in themselves, but in all they touched? As the days flowed gently into each other, the synergy within the garden blossomed alongside the seedlings. Sarah felt woven into a tapestry of love and shared purpose, each person threading their unique story into the community's growing narrative. The young girl, whom they had named Lily, quickly became a precious part of their family. Her giggles intertwined with the voices of the villagers, each chuckle a note in their joyful hymn. Every morning began with a prayer, a moment to invite God's wisdom and guidance into their endeavors. They thanked him for the rising sun, the rich earth, and the chance to be instruments of his love. Each act of service became a sacred gesture, as if the plants were showing their gratitude by stretching toward the light. But as the journey unfolded, whispers of doubt began to creep into the hearts of some villagers. Despite the excitement, solemn faces appeared during morning gatherings, misgivings swirling in the air like a dark cloud. What if we're not enough? Someone mused one day, breaking the morning silence. What if our efforts cannot really change anyone's life? Sarah's heart tightened at the wavering faith surrounding her. She felt the weight of their uncertainty, and yet, a flicker of inspiration sparked deep within. It reminded her of the mustard seed parable, how faith, even as small as a seed, could move mountains. Gathering the villagers close, she spoke with quiet fervor. "Remember the day Lily stood at the edge of our garden? Look how far we've come. It doesn't take an enormous effort to spark change. Each small kindness can radiate outwards, like ripples in a pond." Their eyes brightened as she continued, "This journey isn't just about service, it's about learning to trust God's work through us. What we offer in love can multiply. Each smile shared, each meal given, it all adds up to something beautiful." The energy shifted. Hope rekindled within those gathered. They began to reimagine their mission, envisioning how their acts of kindness were seeds, planting faith in others, bridging hearts' connections, blossoming in unexpected places. Encouraged by this spirit, Mr. Thompson suggested they invite the surrounding villages to witness their progress. "What if we hold a harvest event? a day to celebrate and share what we've grown? He proposed, enthusiasm radiating from him once again. Yes. We can extend our reach, show our neighbors what love can achieve. Agnes chimed in, her spirit lifted. The idea was met with collective agreement, excitement dancing in the air, plans were set into motion. Days turned into preparation filled with laughter and anticipation. The community worked tirelessly to create an event that would echo hope throughout the surrounding areas. As the day approached, Sarah noticed an unshakable bond forming between them, a shared understanding that transcended words, entwined by the threads of faith. The evening before the harvest celebration, Sarah stood quietly in the garden, bathed in twilight, the last light of day embracing her. Closing her eyes, she whispered her prayers, each syllable rising toward the heavens. Above, stars began to twinkle, shimmering with promise. Suddenly, she was gripped by a moment of clarity. It wasn't just about the work they produced. It was about the relationships built and the way they unveiled God's grace together. In the falling night, Sarah realized the greatest harvest might not be measured in crops but in transformed hearts and rekindled spirits. As the sun dawned on the harvest day, laughter filled the air. People from neighboring villages trickled in, drawn by the warmth of genuine love, hungry not just for food but for connection. A sacred silence fell as they shared their stories, a beautiful testimony to what God could do when His people dared to step outside their comfort zones. But as the celebration reached its crescendo, a familiar chill crept in, as if a veil were being drawn back. Sarah could sense something in the atmosphere, a profound shift was inevitable. What astonishing revelation awaited them on this blessed day? Would they see God's hand transform this gathering into a divine encounter? As the sun finally broke through the morning mist, bathing the village in golden light, Sarah felt an electric thrill of anticipation for what lay ahead. The chapel stood majestic, alive with the laughter of children and the joyful chatter of families assembling for the harvest celebration. The air was sweet, fragrant with the scent of ripe fruits and the earthy aroma of fresh vegetables harvested from their communal garden. Villagers bustled about, arranging colorful tables adorned with an abundance of food, each dish a labor of love, each recipe a testament to their collective journey. Sarah moved through the crowd, her heart swelling with gratitude for the camaraderie they had forged. She gazed upon Mr. Thompson, who now moved with an energy that radiated hope, his eyes bright as he greeted guests at the door. "Remember how far we've come," Sarah whispered to Agnes, who stood beside her, a warm smile lighting up her face. "Today is about more than just crops, it's about sharing the love that has flourished among us." As laughter echoed and children played, the atmosphere thickened with an undeniable reverence. A group of neighboring villagers, drawn by the warm light spilling from the chapel, began to arrive, casting wary glances while clutching bags of offerings. Sarah approached them with open arms. "Welcome. Come share this joy with us." One by one, hesitant smiles broke through the uncertainty, and invitations grew warmer. As they settled in and shared meals, Sarah noticed something remarkable. The conversation shifted from small talk to heartfelt sharing. Lives intertwined around tables, stories flowed like the rivers of faith they had nurtured over the last 40 days, then, just as the sun reached its zenith, casting a warm hue over the gathering, a hush enveloped the crowd. An elder from the neighboring village, his silver hair catching the light, rose slowly to his feet. With a tremble in his voice, he began to speak. "We've come with heavy hearts. We've seen much loss, and we thought we were beyond hope. But witnessing your joy today, it stirs something in us." The collective breath of the villagers held, mingled with a provisional hope. The elder continued, "We've watched you rise through trials, ignited by love and faith. It's not just food you share, it's a deeper nourishment, a glimpse of unmatched grace." Gasps filled the air, breaths of understanding exchanged as the truth struck a chord with everyone present. The atmosphere sparkled with spirituality, a collective acknowledgement that this celebration was not merely a festivity, but a divine movement birthed from their commitment to each other and to God. Lily, now running through the crowd, suddenly veered toward the elder and tugged at his coat. "You can find hope, too. We all can." The innocent wisdom spilling from her childlike heart pierced the hearts of all who listened. Tears glistened as the elder knelt down, receiving her affection with an inexplicable warmth. As the villagers embraced this moment of vulnerability and sharing, Sarah felt the boundaries of their identities shift. The village was no longer just a patchwork of faces, it was now a beautiful tapestry of souls drawn together by God's promise. "Let us commit ourselves," Sarah announced, her voice bold. "Let us extend the light of this love beyond our villages. Let us spread this belief that we've found, allowing it to bloom wherever we go." A chorus of affirmations and amens echoed around the chapel. It was a crescendo of hope rising in unison. In a moment of divine clarity, Sarah realized this was not just the end of their 40-day journey, it was the launch of a new life filled with purpose. This harvest wasn't about just the fruits they'd grown, it was about the heart of Jesus ripening within each soul. As the day faded and the sun dipped low, casting a vibrant glow across the jubilant crowd, tears of joy cascaded down Sarah's cheeks. The divine presence wrapped around them. The peace they had sought was tangible, enthralling, and real. This is what it means to sow seeds, not just in garden beds but in hearts. In lives, Agnes proclaimed, her eyes shimmering with excitement. As twilight descended and stars began to wink overhead, the villagers lit candles, illuminating not just the chapel but their hearts. The flickering flames danced along with joyful voices singing praises into the night. They had stepped outside their comfort, trusting in God's hands. Each prayer, each meal, each moment of kindness had woven a thread of connection between God and their community that no storm could sever. Together, they stepped into a new dawn, transformed, united, forever affected by the knowledge that real faith is a journey best shared. Now, as you have witnessed this remarkable journey of faith and transformation, don't wait even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel and ensure you don't miss the next exclusive faith stories that will empower your heart. Leave a like now to support our mission and feed the algorithm with hope and life. Comment below with your reactions and testimonies about this incredible ending. Your voice matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who desperately need to see this manifestation of love and faith. True servants of God understand the importance of spreading His word and supporting this channel through these actions.